Ever heard of a night so powerful that its worship is worth more than 1,000 months?
It sounds pretty intense, right?
Definitely. Well, we're going to dive into that tonight.
Sounds good to me.
We're talking about Laylat al Qadr.
Ah, Laylat al Qadr, a hidden gem in the last 10 nights of Ramadan.
You know, a lot of our listeners might already be familiar with it.
Right. But we're going beyond the basics here. We're going to figure out how to really, truly tap into its blessings.
That's the goal.
That's what makes Laylat al Qadr so fascinating.
So-
It's not just some date on the calendar.
Right.
It's the night of decree, power, destiny. It's a night where destinies are shaped.
Yeah.
At least that's what Surah al-Qadr in the Quran suggests.
Yeah, and we're going to be drawing from a really interesting piece on this called Laylat al Qadr, the most powerful night of Ramadan.
Yeah, it's packed with insights.
So we're talking 1,000 months of worship packed into one night. What exactly makes it so special?
Well, one of the key things is it's believed to be the anniversary of when the Quran was first revealed to the Prophet Muhammad.
Oh.
And that moment, it wasn't just some historical event.
Right.
It was a total paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And think about the impact that the Quran has had on history, on theology, on billions of lives.
Yeah.
It all stems from this one night.
Wow. That's a really powerful way to think about it. I mean, it's not just an anniversary. It's like the root of so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And that power is amplified, I guess you could say, by the belief that on Laylat al Qadr, angels descend to earth,
Okay.
including Jibril, Gabriel, carrying Allah's mercy and blessings.
Mhm.
It's like the veil between the earthly and divine, it feels thinnest on this night.
So, amplified blessings, angelic presence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is starting to sound like a spiritual power-up night.
Yeah.
But if it's so important, why don't we know exactly when it is?
Well, that's where the mystery comes in. And I actually think that's also where the wisdom comes in.
Okay.
Laylat al Qadr, it falls within the last 10 nights of Ramadan,
Yeah.
specifically on an odd-numbered night. But the exact date, it's unknown.
So does that mean we're just supposed to, strive in our worship the whole time, not just focus on one particular night?
Yeah, that's the idea. We're encouraged to really strive throughout the entire period.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But doesn't it make it hard to find? You know what I mean?
Not necessarily. I mean, while the exact date is a mystery, there are some signs that are often associated with Laylat al Qadr.
Okay.
A really peaceful, tranquil atmosphere. No extreme weather, maybe even just like a unique calmness.
Ah, so it's less about a treasure hunt, those last 10 nights of Ramadan, and more about being present, being open to feeling that shift in energy.
Exactly. It's about making sure that every single night you're ready to receive those blessings.
That's a good point. Now, we've talked about the mystery of the date, but let's talk about why this night holds so much power in the first place.
Sure.
I mean, we know it's when the Quran was revealed. We know angels descend. What else makes this night so powerful?
Yeah. Well, it goes even beyond those events, those significant events.
Right.
The name itself, Laylat al Qadr,
Right.
it translates to the night of decree or destiny. And the belief is that on this night, Allah decrees what's going to happen in the coming year.
Wow.
Everything,
Yeah.
matters of life and death, sustenance, even the smallest details of our lives.
So it's not just about, feeling closer to the divine. We're talking about possibly influencing the course of our future.
Mm-hmm.
That's intense.
It really emphasizes how important our actions are during this time, our prayers, our intentions. It's not about, demanding specific things from Allah. It's more about just striving to be our best selves so that whatever's decreed for us, we can meet it.
With strength, with clarity.
Exactly. And this actually reminds me of something you mentioned earlier
Oh, yeah.
about the sadaqah.
Charity.
Charity being especially important on Laylat al Qadr.
Yeah.
Kind of fits with that whole theme of, aligning ourselves with good,
Right.
both for ourselves and for others.
Makes sense. So sadaqah, I mean, it's not just about giving money, is it?
No, not at all. It's about cultivating this generosity of spirit. You combine that with the heightened spiritual energy of Laylat al Qadr,
Yeah.
and it creates this really powerful ripple effect. Like you're amplifying the good that you put out into the world.
I like that. So practically speaking, how can we actually tap into this energy? We've got the Quran, prayer. What else is recommended for Laylat al Qadr?
Well, alongside those things, dua is essential, supplication.
Right.
And there's this really beautiful dua that's highly recommended specifically on Laylat al Qadr. Allahumma innaka Afuwan tuhibul afwa fa'fu ani.
And that translates to,
Oh Allah, you are forgiving
yeah.
and you love to forgive, so forgive me.
Oh, it's simple but so profound. And seeking forgiveness, it's not just about wiping the slate clean. It's an act of humility, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing our imperfections and just trying to do better.
Absolutely. And there's also Qiyam al-Layl.
Remind me, what's that again?
It's that special night prayer.
Oh, right, right. Similar to Tahajjud, but with prolonged standing and just really heartfelt supplications.
Okay.
It's all about connecting with Allah in the stillness of the night, when all the distractions kind of fade away and you can really just focus on your intentions.
You describe these practices, and it just sounds so peaceful, almost meditative. Makes me wonder why we limit it to just this one night, or even just Ramadan.
That's a really good point. And honestly, we shouldn't.
Right.
Laylat al Qadr is it's like this concentrated dose of what's possible
Throughout the year.
throughout the year, yeah. If these practices really resonate with you, why not find ways to incorporate them into your daily life?
Yeah.
Maybe not in the exact same way, but, with that same intention, that same sincerity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like building those spiritual muscles during Ramadan and then continuing to use them so they don't, fade away.
Exactly. I like that. Now, before we get too ahead of ourselves, we should probably address some common misconceptions about Laylat al Qadr.
Okay. Some people think that it always falls on the 27th night of Ramadan.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's a myth.
Yeah.
It can be any of the odd-numbered nights in the last 10 days.
Yeah.
I mean, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he really encouraged us to be vigilant the entire time.
So no slacking off.
Nope.
Gotcha. Another myth I've heard is that you have to be in Mecca or Medina for your prayers to be accepted on Laylat al Qadr.
Another misconception. The blessings of this night are universal,
Okay.
Allah hears us wherever we are.
So it's not about the physical location.
Right.
It's about...
It's about the state of our hearts.
This is all super insightful, but I'm not going to lie, it's also a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
This idea of destiny being shaped, angels descending. What if you don't feel anything, during those nights? Does that mean you've missed it?
That's such an important question. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Laylat al Qadr, it's not about chasing some mystical experience. It's not about comparing yourself to other people.
Right.
The real essence of it is, it's about the sincerity of your heart and the effort you put into your worship. You don't need to worry about any outward signs or feelings. Just focus on connecting with Allah authentically, meaningfully.
That's really reassuring, honestly, because it takes the pressure off of having to achieve some kind of, spiritual high.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings the focus back to where it should be, our connection with the divine.
Exactly. And remember that the rewards of Laylat al Qadr are ultimately in Allah's hands. We might not always see or feel them right away,
Okay.
but that doesn't make them any less significant. It's about having faith and just surrendering to the divine will.
This has been an awesome conversation. We've uncovered the historical and spiritual significance of Laylat al Qadr, We've debunked those common myths, and we've gained some practical guidance on how to actually connect with this night.
It's been great diving into this with you.
So you, listening, you've heard just how profound this night can be. But what's Laylat al Qadr going to mean for you, personally? How are you going to use what we've talked about to deepen your own spiritual practice? We'll be right back to explore how to carry these blessings beyond Ramadan and into the rest of the year. We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into Laylat al Qadr.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We really have. We've looked at the significance, dispelled some of those common myths, and even gotten some practical advice on how to connect with this powerful night.
But like you were saying earlier, the real change, the transformation, it comes from carrying the spirit of Laylat al Qadr with you.
Yeah.
Beyond Ramadan.
Yeah. How do we do that? How do we take those lessons, those blessings, and integrate them into our daily lives?
That's the real question.
Yeah.
And it's something a lot of people struggle with, right?
Definitely. Ramadan gives us that incredible structure, that heightened spiritual focus.
Right.
And then it's over, and we're back to, regular life.
Yeah, like how do you maintain that connection? I think it starts with recognizing that the things we do during Ramadan, like praying consistently, reading the Quran, making dua, giving charity,
Right.
those shouldn't be limited to just 1 month out of the year.
I mean, they're powerful tools for spiritual growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can benefit from them all year round.
So it's not about trying to, replicate Ramadan perfectly.
Right.
It's about finding ways to weave those practices into our daily routines in a way that we can actually keep up with.
Exactly. Maybe it's praying tahajjud a couple nights a week instead of every night. Maybe it's just setting aside a few minutes every day to reflect on the Quran or incorporating small acts of charity into your week.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you
Yeah.
and making it a part of your life.
Like building those spiritual muscles during Ramadan
Yeah.
and then making sure we actually use them so they don't, get weak.
I like that. It's a good analogy. And remember, it's not just about the actions themselves. It's about holding on to that inner state we cultivate during Ramadan. The self-reflection, seeking forgiveness,
Yeah.
striving to be better.
Yeah.
Those should be things we do all the time, not just during Ramadan.
So even when that structure of Ramadan is gone,
Right.
it's about holding on to that sense of spiritual accountability.
Absolutely. Laylat al Qadr, with its focus on destiny and divine decree, it reminds us that we have the power to shape our own lives. Every single day, we have the chance to make choices that align with our values,
Yeah.
that bring us closer to Allah.
So it comes down to intention.
Mm.
We can let that momentum from Ramadan just disappear. Or we can make a choice to keep cultivating that connection, the mindfulness, the awareness that we build during the month.
You got it. It's about realizing that the potential for growth, for transformation,
Yeah.
that Laylat al Qadr represents, it doesn't just go away when Ramadan ends. It's always there, inside of us.
We just have to tap into it.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening look at Laylat al Qadr. From its historical and spiritual significance to how we can actually experience its power, both during Ramadan and afterward. It's clearly a night with a lot of potential.
It has been a privilege to unpack all this with you.
And to you listening, we've gone pretty deep here. But the real journey starts with you, your own personal reflection. What will this night mean for you? How are you going to use what we've talked about to deepen your spiritual practice and carry those blessings into the rest of the year? We encourage you to come to Ramadan with intention, with openness, and with a willingness to really embrace the power of Laylat al Qadr. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.